Right, let's talk scalping for a second, okay? I've just wrapped up my Tokyo scalping session. This thought came across my mind about scalping, right? When you first start trading, everyone tells you scalping's a bad idea, right? They say scalping is gambling. You can never be profitable as a retail trader scalping. That you should be holding for bigger moves. That scalping is low probability. That you're just going to chew yourself up in the chop, etc., with scalping. And this advice gets passed on to you from other traders who have been around for a little longer. And they say they might have tried scalping and then that doesn't work for them, so they pass that information on to you, and everyone just thinks scalping is trash, right? This was my perception of scalping as well for the most of my trading career. You know, scalping just seemed like that was for gamblers. The further along I've come in my trading journey, and also seeking professional mentorship from professional traders, I've come to learn that scalping is actually the most risk-averse type of trading and is actually one of the more probable ways to profit from the markets, according to these professional traders, people I've learned from, and now from my own experience as well. And I'm going to dive into that a bit and explain why that is and why I believe that is. Again, this is not financial advice. Seek your own opinions, do your own research. This is purely my opinion based on my experience. Getting into it, let's just compare the two, right? So I started off in futures anyway as an ICT trader and have since moved over to order flow, trading order flows, scalping, micro scalping, whatever you want to call it. As an ICT trader, right, I'm sitting around for a couple hours a day for a specific setup to form at specific levels, specific times, which is all good and well. And when I get that trade set up, you know, either it hits stop loss or it runs 30, 40, 50 points, and that's my trade done, okay? And I'm not getting those every single day, maybe 2 to 3 good ones a week for my session. But, you know, I'm sitting around and waiting for the most part for those setups to form. And then, of course, you have those days where it's like, you know, today is pre-NFP, so it's a low probability day, or, you know, it's a the day after a bank holiday, so it's low probability day. All the stuff about this day is low probability, whatever. There's all this red tape around what can and can't be traded. Of course, some of that's for good reason as well. Now, let's compare that now to the way that I'm trading now with scalping and order flow trading. Number one, first and foremost, it's a high frequency style of trading. So there's opportunities all day long, during the quiet hours, during the busy hours, on a low probability day, whatever kind of day it is, there's opportunities, plentiful opportunities almost every few minutes, right? So there's plenty of times to get that practice in, you know, those 10,000 hours or those 10,000 kicks, you know, the old Bruce Lee saying, probably butchering it here, but practicing one punch 1,000 times versus 1,000 punches one time type thing. So you're getting your practice in, number one. Number two, there's plentiful opportunity during the day. I don't have to wait for a specific time frame or anything. My same setup can occur at any time of day. The results today, this is from me trading Tokyo or even pre-Tokyo Open during the quiet hours, after hours. And my profit target for each day is $300, right? So I aim $300 a day, either positive or negative, a 1-to-1 daily risk to reward. Almost there on the middle account. We'll save the rest of that for the New York session on stream. And then one of the accounts, obviously, I've hit my personal loss, so I stopped there. But one is at full profit, one's almost there, and one's not. You know, didn't make it today, RIP. But the point I'm making is, whatever time of day, as long as the markets are open, as a scalper trading in order flow and order flow scalping, I can come in at any time of the day and do this. I don't have to wait for a specific session. I don't have to worry about if today's a high probability or low probability day. Any day works. As long as the market's open and moving, it works. And it doesn't have to move much either. Tight, you know, 5-10 tick range is all I need to be able to put my setup in and profit from it. Now, the next thing, this is another interesting point that I learned from my mentor as well, is that people often think of scalping as the more risky style of trading to holding a positional trade, right? But it's funny because the logic there is actually kind of backwards, because if you think about scalping, number one, because you have smaller profit targets, you're less exposed to the randomness or the volatility of the markets. Okay, so think about if you are in a positional trade, an ICT style trade, or just a trade where you're holding for, you know, anything above 5 points, for example. The longer you hold that trade, the longer that trade is open, the more you're exposing yourself to the conditions of the market. You know, during that time where you're holding the trade, the market could have a spike up, could have a spike down. It could get real close to your profit target, then trip all the way back down, then you're out at break even, or you're out at a loss, or you're out just for a 1-to-1 hour after sitting there and wasting all that time waiting for your trade to play out. You're quite exposed. You're exposed to the randomness of the market. The markets aren't pre-programmed, contrary to popular belief. They're not pre-programmed. An algorithm is not sending it to specific price levels, so you cannot predict that. We cannot 100% predict the direction of the market. So the longer you're in a positional trade, the more you are predicting where price is going to go, the more you're leaving up to chance and randomness. Compare that again back to scalping. With scalping, you have a smaller profit target. For example, I trade quite small. This won't be for everybody, but my strategy, the way I've learned, is to aim for 4 to 5 ticks at a time on the S&P. So quite quickly, I can take that profit and be out of the market. My exposure is done. I've taken profit. I'm out of the market. I've limited my exposure, and there is a higher probability of my take profit being hit because it is just capitalizing on the back and forth ebb and flow of the markets. Okay, I don't have to predict the direction so much. Just have to get in line with order flow, collect a few ticks from the natural back and forth ebb and flow of the markets, and get out. Limited exposure, leaving very little to luck, and I'm not imposing my will on the markets. I'm allowing the markets to just do its thing and capitalize from that back and forth movement. And because that back and forth movement is happening so frequently, I'm getting more practice in the markets as well, right? So I'm sitting here, opportunities are presenting themselves every few minutes. I'm sitting here getting practice over and over again, the same setup, the same thing over and over and over again, allowing me to then refine my psychology, desensitize myself from taking trades, so your emotional state is better. Personally, the more trades that I'm executing for these smaller take profits and smaller stop losses, the more desensitized I become to entering a trade. So there's less emotions in on a trade, which is also a good thing. Whereas when I'm sitting around as an ICT trade, I'm waiting so long for a setup to form, and when it does form, that's my one trade for the day. There's a lot riding on that trade setup. And lastly, because my profit target is so small, my stop losses can also be small, and because of that, I have smaller P&L swings. Say where each trade is worth $30 to $40 at a time for me, I'm subject to smaller P&L swings on the day in my account, which again contributes to less emotional turmoil, less of an emotional roller coaster while trading, because if I lose a trade, maybe I'm down $20, $30. If I win a trade, then I'm up $40, $50, and it's just a small amount of money. Compounding that with frequency, by the end of the day, I see where I'm sitting. I'm like, cool, even if I've taken, like even today, even with this one here, even if I've taken this loss on one account, it's still only negative 300. I have those parameters, those risk management rules in place. Stop at negative 300, stop at plus 300, and that's that. And it's still a rather small price swing. But the thing is, because of there is such a high frequency of these setups happening, every day I can pull this. For the most part, I'm green. If you look at my live streams, since I started streaming this style of trading, every day has been green. No red days, purely because I have a high strike rate and a high frequency of opportunities, which means over time, I'm coming out in the green, okay? Most days. Not saying I'm going to win every single day of the year. There will be, of course, red days, where all three of those accounts might be red, but high frequency, high strike rate, and proper risk management means more green days than not, and opportunities abound. So just something to think about, guys. I was one of those guys who did like scalping, but also felt it was more gambling. But the more I've learned about order flow trading, how the markets work, and especially information learned from my mentor, the more that scalping makes sense as the less risky way to trade, the best return on your time for when you're sitting down at the screens to trade, and the better I can develop personally as a trader through practice, being able to review my trades, having plentiful opportunities in a session to go back and look over and see what I did right, what I did wrong, many more opportunities to improve upon, and on the whole, better consistency. So hope this video maybe opened your eyes to another perspective on scalping. Again, do your own research. This is just what I've found so far on my trading journey. So I hope that helps, guys. Come along for the streams. I'm doing this scalping every day at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, live on the channel. So check that out and look out for next week's order flow episode as well. Take care, guys.